हेलो एवरीवन एंड वेलकम टू दिस लाइव सेशन विद आस्क पीबी। अब तक आप सब लोग ये जान ही गए होंगे कि आस्क पीबी है क्या, बट हमारे नए व्यूअर्स के लिए मैं दोबारा बता देती हूँ। आस्क पीबी पॉलिसी बाजार का एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म है जहाँ पर आप इंश्योरेंस से रिलेटेड कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं, एंड आई लिटरली मीन इट, कुछ भी। एंड आवर डोमेन एक्सपर्ट्स विल गेट बैक टू यू विद आंसर्स। इसका लिंक हमने डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में ऐड करा हुआ है, तो आप वो चेकआउट कर सकते हैं। इसके अलावा हमने एक नई सीरीज स्टार्ट करी है विच गोज बाय द नेम योर नॉलेज पार्टनर। यहाँ पर हम इंश्योरेंस कॉन्सेप्ट्स को अंडर 1 मिनट डिकोड करके एक्सप्लेन करते हैं, सो प्लीज डू चेक दैट आउट। आज हमारे साथ है रोहन गुप्ता। ही इज द हेड ऑफ रीजनल हेल्थ बिजनेस एट पॉलिसी बाजार। वेलकम टू द शो रोहन।
Thanks, Simran. Thank you. How are you doing?
गुड गुड। We are really excited to have you on the show, Rohan.
Same here.
लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड रोहन। तो नीति आयोग की एक रिपोर्ट पब्लिश हुई थी 2021 में, जिसमें बताया गया था कि नियरली 30% ऑफ द इंडियन पॉपुलेशन, या फिर क्लोज टू अबाउट 42 करोड़ इंडियंस के पास अभी भी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं है, विच इज रियली कंसर्निंग। तो कैन यू प्लीज बिगिन बाय एक्सप्लेनिंग टू आवर व्यूअर्स व्हाई हैविंग हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस इज सो वाइटल?
Yes, you touched on a very important topic. Actually, yes, 30 to 35% Indians do not have a health insurance, and more importantly, many of the additional or the users that do have an health insurance don't have an adequate cover as well. So, why is health insurance very necessary? Is because it's a very important product to secure your financial health, and by that I mean. In times of medical emergencies you have a very great financial burden to pay the hospital bills and everything. Now in cases like these it is very important that you have a financial safety net and a backup to pay those bills. Now health insurance comes here and provides you that financial safety net, and you get your coverages, you get your coverage and expenses get paid for the hospitalization. And more importantly, the COVID pandemic really brought really was a wake up call for the general public as well as authorities as well, and it surfaced the importance of health insurance and brought awareness around it, because we saw that claims of around 7 to 8 lakhs were very common, if not more, and they were going up to 15 lakh, 20 lakhs, 25 lakh, 30 lakhs and more. So a general person do not have that much amount safeguarded for a medical emergency, and even if there is a saving of that amount, it's never liquid for a common person. So health insurance is very important in that aspect, and that prevents you and protects your financial health.
राइट। और आज वर्ल्ड हार्ट डे भी है, रोहन। हम देख रहे हैं कि इंडिया में क्या, इनफैक्ट वर्ल्ड वाइड कार्डियक अरेस्ट के केसेस कितने बढ़ गए हैं। आए दिन हम न्यूज़ में पढ़ते रहते हैं कि सेलिब्रिटीज को कार्डियक अरेस्ट आ गया। आसपास हम देख रहे हैं कितने लोगों को हार्ट एलिमेंट्स हो रहे हैं, which makes it all the more important to be covered by health insurance to sort of deal with those issues.
Yes, we have been seeing that, and the onset of heart conditions have reduced. Like we are seeing people in 30s, higher 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, being at the risk of this, and we've seen celebrities succumbing to cardiac arrest and heart failures as well. So, yep, the onset of these diseases has reduced in terms of age, and uh, yes, it is concerning, and it's more or less related to our lifestyle these days. But yes, it makes your point. It makes it all more important for an individual or a family to have adequate cover and the health insurance.
या और रोहन, हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस खरीदते समय ऐसे कौन से पॉइंट्स हैं दैट वन शुड कीप इन माइंड एज एन एक्सपर्ट? व्हाट recommendations do you have?
Okay, so there are many points to consider while buying an health insurance, and it's a fairly complex product, but one needs to research well and compare the plans well. So how to go about selecting a health insurance? I'll touch upon 3 4 major points that I believe one should keep in mind while
Yeah.
selecting an health insurance. So it can be based on one's age, first of all. It can be based on a person's medical history and what is the risk he or she is facing, because there are diseases that run in the family, like it's BP. If your parents have a BP, you tend to have a higher chance of developing hypertension, BP.
Yeah.
If your parents or grandparents had heart diseases, you tend to have a higher chance of developing diseases, heart related diseases. So you need to take care of your age. You need to keep in mind your medical history, what risks you have. You need to in accordance marrying those risks, you should also keep in mind what are the costs associated in case you develop a hypertension problem or a heart problem. You need to see that as well.
Yeah.
Now these are the points that are now, but you can also think, and you can also buy health insurance based on the stage of life you are at. So by the stage of life, I mean, you just started earning, you are a single person, your needs will be very different from when you will be starting a family. So your need for health insurance completely changes when you're planning a family.
Hmm.
These again change when you think about supporting your parents and buying an health insurance for them, so they have a completely different need for a health insurance. So all these factors you need to take care while selecting. In addition to that, uh, one of the important points is determining the adequate sum insured or the coverage that you will need for your health insurance. That is very important because you do not want an inadequate coverage, because uh, there's no point spending out of your pocket if you already have a health insurance and you have an inadequate coverage. That will create a financial burden and your problem isn't solved. So the medical inflation in India is around 14%. That means the prices of whatever medical costs, medical services doubles in every almost 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Now, what may seem adequate cover now won't be an adequate cover 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line. So
Hmm.
we need to keep that in mind as well. And as I talked earlier, that you need to check what risks of diseases you have and what are the cost of treatment of diseases related to that disease. Now, so uh, a thumb rule is for a single individual, you should have a minimum of 10 lakh of sum insured or
Hmm.
coverage. uh, Naturally it should be very high, it should be higher if it's a family policy or a floater policy and you have various individuals in that policy. This will also change if you have senior citizens in the policy, because they tend to have higher hospitalization, higher chances of diseases as well. So so if it's for your parents and they are around 50, 55, 60 years, they have a
Hmm.
higher chance of getting diseases and subsequent hospitalizations, so their sum insured should be even more. But a general thumb rule is you should have at least per individual 10 lakh of sum insured or coverage, and this should change based on your age, your susceptibility to diseases and stuff like that.
या रोहन भी ऑल्सो ऑलवेज है कि हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस खरीदने से पहले आपको वेटिंग पीरियड के बारे में पता होना चाहिए ट्रीटमेंट्स और सर्जरीज और डिजीजेस के तो ये
Okay.
वेटिंग पीरियड्स एग्जैक्टली होते क्या है कैन यू एक्सप्लेन टू आवर व्यूअर्स
Sure, sure, sure. So this tend to be a confusing point for most of the consumers. So
या
what are the waiting periods, and when can I claim, and when does
यस
the waiting period end? Generally, there are three types of waiting periods in any policy. One is the initial waiting period that every policy have.
हम्म
That is when you buy a policy, from the issuance date till the next 30 days, you cannot do any claims on that. This does not cover this does not include the accidental claims. So if you have an accident, you can claim that within those 30 days as well. But after those 30 days, the policy kind of opens up and you can have claims other than accident as well. Then the second type of waiting periods are the short, so basically slow growing diseases waiting period. This is generally 48 months or 2 years, 24 months or 2 years ka waiting period, and generally has diseases that grow slowly. For example, I can give you cataract, hernia. So a person has to wait for a minimum of 24 months before he or she can claim for a slow growing diseases like cataract and hernia. Then there are waiting periods for pre-existing diseases, or PD as we call them in the industry. So PD can be disease like diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol. asthma. So these waiting periods are usually 3 to 4 years long, depending on the policy.
Hmm.
And I'll delve into more into what are PDs. So PDs are any diseases that you already have while you are purchasing a health insurance. Let's say I'm purchasing a health insurance now. If I have a diabetes condition, detected diabetes condition, and I'll obviously have to mention it to the insurer. This will come under a pre-existing disease, and I have to wait for at least, depending on the policy, 3 or 4 years before I can make a claim related to that diabetes. Now there are also riders coming up, which reduces this the third type of waiting period from 3 to 4 years to one down to 1 or 2 years. And there are even riders that waive off this waiting period. And this is a very welcoming, features that insurers have provided, that you can waive off these waiting periods, and these diseases start getting covered from the 31st day, as I told you, or the 31st day, or this is called day one coverage in the industry. So these are the typical waiting periods that are normally associated with. Uh,
Right. Rohan, there are people in India who still rely solely on corporate coverage, which is not enough, right?
yeah.
So can you throw some light on that?
Okay. So corporate coverage is basically when you start working for an organization. Most of the organizations, or almost all organizations, have a mandatory policy that health they provide coverage to the employees working
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
Uh, what are the features of this plan? It's I'll tell you. So basically, this is a plan that covers only around 2 to 3 lakhs of that has a coverage of only about 2 to 3 lakhs. Now, as I told the viewers earlier as well, that we should have at least 10 lakhs of sum insured for a safety net. Now, this 2 to 3 lakhs is highly inadequate, and most of the claims that you will have will exceed this amount.
Hmm.
Secondly, more importantly, actually, this coverage remains only till you are employed. As soon
Yeah.
as your employment gets over, you do not have this coverage. Now, this again leaves you susceptible to financial risk, and if your job gets terminated, then you have a disease. So
Hmm.
then you are uncovered for that duration as well. Now, another point is when you so basically when you have an health insurance, you serve a waiting period, as we were discussing. If there's no continuity of waiting period in these policies, let's say if you are in an employment for 3 years, so you'll think that you have served the waiting period of 3 years, but it's not like that. If you change organizations, you get a new policy, you do not have that. You There's no record that you served the waiting period of 3 years in the previous uh, policy. You have to serve them again. So that is there. So yeah, so two major factors: that very grossly inadequate sum insured, around 2 to 3 lakhs, which is not adequate in present times, and
Yeah.
secondly, it only lasts till your employment lasts, which is a very high risk to be taken. That's why uh, everyone should have a separate health insurance in addition to the corporate insurance that they have. And even if that is a stretch, they should have at least a top up that can chip in when your 2 to 3 whatever lakhs coverage is there, it gets exhausted. That top up comes in and helps you cover the additional expenses related to the you know hospitalization or expenses.
Rohan, as a wellness enthusiast, which I am, the next question that I'm going to ask you is a topic that I personally just love talking about and I'm really happy about. काफी इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज अब वेलनेस बेनिफिट्स भी ऑफर करती हैं पॉलिसी होल्डर्स को. Can you talk about these wellness benefits and how people can claim those?
Yes, yes. It's also a very welcoming, features that insurers are starting to provide
Yeah.
these wellness discounts and offers. And the basic motto and driving philosophy behind this is basically, uh, if you stay fit, you
Hmm.
should be rewarded for that. Now
Yes.
these comes in these benefits or offers come in these forms, that you get discounts on your renewals. When you renew your policy, you get certain percentage of discounts if you maintain a good lifestyle, and this is mainly tracked via your steps, your BMI, uh, and there are some policies which will be virtually be free from the second renewal onwards if you maintain this good lifestyle. In addition to that, you have something like if you have a PD like diabetes, the insurance policies offer you diabetes reversal programs. So that is accompanied in the policy as well. So that is a very good, feature for the users. And insurers have also started, offering discounts on gym memberships to the
Hmm.
policyholder. So these are some of the new age wellness benefits that the insurers are providing, so that people stay claim free and have a better lifestyle.
या और रोहन ये वेलनेस बेनिफिट्स क्लेम करने के लिए वन वन वे टू डू सो इज बाय कंप्लीटिंग 10K स्टेप्स राइट मतलब
Yes,
कुछ
some of the
इंश्योरेंस
policy.
हाँ हाँ
Yeah.
कुछ
So
इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज में ये क्राइटेरिया होता है और कौन कौन से क्राइटेरियाज होते हैं
the couple of it's majorly dictated via steps, the policies
Yeah.
that have it. Some of the criteria are also that you maintain a healthy BMI,
Hmm.
that is body mass index, and yeah, majorly these two criteria dictate and dictate the discount that you'll get on renewals. And yes, 10K steps is the major guiding criteria for most of the policies that offer wellness criteria, wellness discounts.
Okay. Rohan, we have a bunch of questions from our viewers, so we'll take them up now. The first one is I don't have credit card and debit card. Can I get health insurance on EMI without these two cards?
There are some small financing. So insurers have tied up with companies that provide loans to people who do not have a debit or EMI card. But that depends on the person's CIBIL score and the ability to take credit. So it really depends on person to person, and the companies that give you a score and are willing to take that, willing to give you the credit. So it really depends on person to person.
Okay. The
But
next
yes,
question.
sorry, following up on that, but yes, uh, a very welcoming and feature is that for most of the policy, if you have a credit or a debit card, you can
Hmm.
take policies on EMIs or monthly mode, and it increases the affordability of uh, you know health insurance. So people might find it difficult to pay 26, 27, 30,000 of premiums for a good comprehensive plan. But as we are seeing in around the industries, that affordability increases when you break this up into smaller EMIs or monthly EMIs of, let's say, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So this actually increases the penetration and uh, affordability of the health insurance.
Yeah. So the next question is my age is 31 and I do not have any pre existing diseases. Is it possible to port my health insurance policy? I want to add some add ons. Please explain which add ons will be good for me.
Okay, yes, it's absolutely possible to port your policy, and I'll explain the viewers what porting is basically. So, porting is basically it's similar to how you port your mobile
Hmm.
phone number. You change the service provider of it. So, you change the insurer, or you can change the plan of the same insurer that you are in. Why? Why one should look at port, or why one does port, is because you might be in an old plan that might not have the new age features. Now, if you want to shift to a plan that is offering you better features, or shift to an insurer that is offering you better features for the same premium, slightly increased premium, or even slightly lower premium and better benefits, in that case, people port their policies.
Hmm.
Uh, Answering that question, yes, one can port their policy without any hassle. And with recent trends, porting has become very seamless as well. It's a whole it's wholly online process, so it's very easy to port your policy. Now, by add-ons, I think so. Basically, there are riders and there are add-ons. You take add-ons to increase your coverage, and there are riders to increase the enhanceability or to make the plan more comprehensive. So I'll touch upon some of the riders that one can actually think while buying the base policy or while porting as well. So these stays the same.
Hmm.
So so as I told you, riders are features that you can add to enhance the coverage. Some of the very important and critical riders, in my opinion, that one should have in their policy is, firstly, as we talked about the waiting periods, now insurers are offering waiting period reduction rider or waiting period waive off rider. So the waiting periods that are usually 3 or 4 years for diseases, you can opt in for a rider, pay a slightly extra premium, and you can reduce that waiting period to 1 year or 2 year. And there are waiting period waive off riders that you can take and reduce this even further to day one coverage or just after 30 days coverage. So you do this because if you are suffering from conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and you expect that you will have expenses or you will have cases where you'll be needing to go to hospital, so in the duration of 3 4 years, and that duration is long for you, so you should reduce this and take the advantage of this rider. Next I want to touch about is the consumables rider. Now, we should know what is covered in an health insurance policy and what expenses are not covered. We should have this criteria very clearly.
Hmm.
Now, health insurance generally covers your in hospitalization charges. So, and this does not usually includes your consumables. And by consumables, I mean PPE kit, syringes, and other gloves. So, these are generally not covered in an health insurance policy. Insurers offer this consumables rider, which takes care of your consumables as well. If you opt for this rider, the expenses related to these consumables will also be paid by the insurance company.
Hmm.
And this is important because we have seen, especially in COVID, that these consumables also form a significant chunk of your total expense. So why risk that as well? And let everyone should try to incorporate this consumables rider to make a really comprehensive policy. Uh, Another rider that I think is important for uh, for us to oversee here is it's a pan India coverage rider. What I mean is in cities like typically tier 2 and tier 3 cities, when you have a major disease,
Hmm.
तो लोग ट्राई करते हैं when they do not have a big hospital in their city,
Yeah.
तो लोगों को रेफर भी किया जाता है, and they also try to go to the nearby bigger city and get their treatment done there as well. Now what happens is कि insurance premiums are decided based on the location you have taken the policy.
Hmm.
तो उन्होंने पॉलिसी ली होगी टियर 2 टियर 3 के प्राइसेस के हिसाब से, बट
Yeah.
व्हेन दे मेक अ क्लेम टियर 1 के हिसाब से, देयर इज सम कोपेमेंट दैट इज बाय डिफॉल्ट एडेड बाय द इंश्योरर
Hmm.
कि एंड बाय कोपेमेंट, लेट मी क्लियर व्हाट कोपेमेंट इज. कोपेमेंट इज, लेट्स से 10% को पेमेंट इंश्योर ने अप्लाई कर दी इफ यू चेंज सिटी. तो मतलब आपका 10 लाख का खर्चा आया, 10% मतलब 1 लाख रुपए आप दे रहे हो, एंड द रेस्ट 9 लाख विल बी कवर्ड बाय द इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी. नाउ दिस 1 लाख इज ऑल्सो अ बिग अमाउंट, और अगर खर्चा बढ़ा आ गया तो दिस 10% इज नॉट इवन 10%, समटाइम्स 20 25, डिपेंड्स ऑन द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी.
Yeah.
तो पैन इंडिया कवरेज राइडर जिसके बारे में बात कर रहा था, व्हाट इट डज इज कि इफ यू गेट दिस राइडर यू कैन get treated anywhere in the country, and you will not be levied a co-payment, and everything will be covered in any city by the insurer. So this is the pan India coverage rider. And lastly, I'll touch upon a very a newer benefit that we are seeing these days, कि जनरली हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस में हमने कहा कि हॉस्पिटलाइजेशंस कवर होते हैं, राइट. जनरली आपकी बेस पॉलिसी में विदाउट द ओपीडी राइडर दैट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट,
Yeah.
यू डू नॉट हैव द आउट पेशेंट बेनिफिट्स एंड फार्मेसी. मतलब आप लेट्स से किसी डॉक्टर को दिखाने जाते हो, दिस इज कॉल्ड ओपीडी, एंड यू डू नॉट गेट एडमिटेड. दिस इज नॉट कवर्ड इन एन हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस. एंड जो फार्मेसी होती है, जो दवाइयाँ या डायग्नोस्टिक भी, these are also not generally covered in an health insurance. But if you take this OPD cover and pharmacy cover, आपके OPD charges, आपकी pharmacy, and आपके prescribed diagnostic test, एक्सरेज वगैरह, these also will be paid by the insurer, और ये भी कवर हो जाते हैं आपके उस एक्सपेंस में. So in my opinion, these four riders are very crucial to think upon when buying an health insurance, uh, and a person should try to accommodate them in their base plans.
Right. The next question, Rohan, is so somebody's asking, I had heart surgery in 2009. Can I get insurance cover from day one if I take a new policy?
Okay, so a person, let's say जिनकी हार्ट सर्जरी हुई थी 2009 में, so he or she definitely has a pre-existing disease, and while taking the policy आपको ये declare करना होगा कि मेरी
Yeah.
हार्ट सर्जरी हुई है and it was because of this coverage. Now it depends on the insurer कि and the underwriting team of the insurer कि when will you sorry, कि आपको पॉलिसी इशू, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आफ्टर डिक्लेयरिंग कि आपको पॉलिसी, विल यू गेट द पॉलिसी और नॉट. इफ इट्स वेरी सीरियस, इंश्योर मे ऑल्सो समटाइम्स डिक्लाइन टू गिव यू द पॉलिसी, and definitely in these cases you'll have a waiting period, but you can also, you can try to take this rider that I mentioned of reducing the waiting period, but it depends on the insurer that whether this case will be granted or not. It depends on case to case basis, how severe was the heart condition that the person had to go for heart surgery, and it depends on case to case, and uh, depends on the insurer's underwriting team as to how they take this risk.
Okay. The next question is, मैंने 5 साल से हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस ले रखा है, अगर मैं अब पोर्ट करूंगा तो क्या वेटिंग पीरियड लगेगा?
Interesting question, and many people have this doubt as well. And as I have cleared as well, कि the benefit of porting is कि अगर आपने वेटिंग पीरियड अपना सर्व कर दिया है अपनी पिछली पॉलिसी में और आपने इंश्योरर चेंज किया, तो
या.
वो वेटिंग पीरियड यू गेट द कंटिन्यूटी बेनिफिट्स, मतलब आपको दोबारा वेटिंग पीरियड सर्व करने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपका कवरेज डे वन से स्टार्ट हो जाता है. सो इफ यू हैव सर्व्ड, लेट्स से अगेन ये 5 साल में मोस्ट ऑफ द वेटिंग पीरियड इज कवर्ड, बट लेट मी टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ वेयर वेटिंग पीरियड इज ऑफ 4 years, एंड आपने 2 साल बाद एक पॉलिसी ली और 2 साल बाद आप इसको पोर्ट कराना चाहते हो, तो आपको एडिशनल सिर्फ 2 साल का नई पॉलिसी में वेटिंग पीरियड सर्व करना पड़ेगा, and you are good to go, and you have the continuity benefits.
All right. One last question, Rohan, for the day, and then we'll wrap up the show. So someone's asking कि क्या नॉर्मल हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस में कैंसर डिजीज कवर्ड होता है या फिर अलग से हमें कैंसर इंश्योरेंस बाय करना होगा?
Okay, so normal health insurance में कैंसर डिजीजेस कवर होते हैं, but the importance of having a critical illness cover, as it is called, and there are list of critical illness, cancer is one of them, is that इसमें बेनिफिट ये होता है क्रिटिकल इलनेस राइडर, क्रिटिकल इलनेस पॉलिसी में, यू गेट अ लंप सम व्हेन द डिजीज इज डिटेक्टेड. कि लेट्स से आपको कैंसर डिटेक्ट होता है, एंड इट आल्सो डिपेंड्स ऑन स्टेजेस कि आपको कितना लंप सम मिलता है, बट जनरली स्पीकिंग कि लेट्स से आपको कैंसर डिटेक्ट होता है, तो आपको एक लंप सम अमाउंट मिल जाता है, लेट्स से 10 lakhs 20 lakhs बेस्ड ऑन व्हाटएवर कवरेज यू हैव टेकन, आपको लंप सम मिल जाता है. How it helps is obviously this helps in your hospitalization charges, but more importantly, जब भी आपको कोई क्रिटिकल इलनेस होता है, तो आपकी एम्प्लॉयमेंट इफेक्ट होती है, आप ऑफिस नहीं जा पाते, आप अपना बिजनेस यूजुअली नहीं कर पाते. सो क्रिटिकल इलनेस के पीछे फिलॉसफी ये है कि जब आपको लमसम, यू गेट दैट लमसम अमाउंट, इट हेल्प्स यू सस्टेन योर डे टू डे एक्सपेंडिचर्स एज वेल. कि व्हेन योर एम्प्लॉयमेंट इज सफरिंग, यू आर नॉट गेटिंग अ रेगुलर सैलरी, तो आपका वो एक्सपेंसेस भी कवर हो जाते हैं क्रिटिकल इलनेस पॉलिसी में. सो दैट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ हैविंग अ क्रिटिकल इलनेस कवर और क्रिटिकल इलनेस पॉलिसी, the base policy.
Right. Thank you, Rohan, for joining us today, and thank you so much to everyone else who tuned in. आपने टाइम निकाला, आप शो देखने आए, अपने क्वेश्चंस पूछे. It means a lot to us, and we hope you found the session useful. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you, Simran. Thanks a lot.